Flams. So on flams, what we're trying to do is get enough clarity between the grace note and the primary note so they're clean, but they're not played exactly at the same time. So you can mess with this space a little bit when you play a flam. So just a single right flam, right? I come down, you can practice just playing the grace note and then this. Same thing on the left. So all you're doing is messing with the space between them. Ideally, you want that grace note very snug against the primary note. Now that primary note does not need to be accented all the time. Not every flam is accented. It could be very small. But the primary note is usually a level, at least a level up. Some volume difference between the grace note and that. So the two strokes we're using for this, if we're just playing alternating flams, is a downstroke and an upstroke. The left hand is playing an upstroke first and then a downstroke, so it's reverse. So down, up, down, up. In the right hand, up, down, up, down, up, down. So each hand is doing the same movement, kind of mirrored. So the goal is to keep a little separation between the grace note and the primary note. So if you're doing hand-to-hand flams like this, you're still doing down and up strokes. The faster you get, the smaller the strokes might get. But you're still trying to get the clarity between the grace note and the primary note. So, how do I work on the spacing between that note? So one exercise you can do is you can take something very simple, a very simple pattern, like 16th notes, and you can mess with a very tight flam. You change the space. So you make a very tight flam, a very loose flam, or open, and then what you would consider normal, or somewhere in the middle. So if I take 16th notes and put a flam on it, 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and we can do a grid pattern. So the next measure will be 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and next measure 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and last measure 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and 1. Okay, so that's a 4-measure exercise in 4/4, just moving the 16th note flam. What you can do is you start kind of what you think normal is. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay? So now I'm going to play it super tight. Okay? I'm going to play every grace note almost flat. You can even go as flat as a flat flam, where you almost get that pop. You're still going to keep the grace note low. You're just going to close the gap between that and the primary note. So 1, 2, ready, and 1, 2, 3, 4. The movement happens very quick. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's very it almost feels constricted. Now we're going to do an exercise where we open up the space there between the grace note and the primary note. So 1, 2, ready, and really ridiculous. 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and 1E. I think I missed a beat there. You get the idea. So you're taking a pattern that you can repeat and you're playing it 3 different ways. So I'm going to do the whole exercise so you can see how it is and just listen to the difference. You got to keep track of where 1 is because I'm not going to count this whole time. So 1, 2, ready, and play, and normal. Then you go back to a normal one. And that feels much better. It's a little more natural. You're trying to go extreme so it feels awkward whether you're playing a very tight grace note or a very open grace note. They're both valid flams, but one sounds a little bit more natural and is not as forced. So that's your goal with the grace note and the flam. You don't want to really struggle to get that grace note in. It should be a very low, should just be a little tap. And then wherever your primary note sits dynamically, that grace note needs to be beneath that. So if I'm playing very quiet, I'm thinking like an inch on that grace note. It might not come out as an inch, but you want to think that. When I'm playing up here, maybe anywhere below 3 inches. The volume of your flam depends on your primary note. So I'm not really changing. I'm not doing this with my left hand. I'm keeping it low. Nope, left hand. The primary note is what changes the volume of that. That way you can maintain cleanliness within the line or your individual playing. Now, kind of as a rule of thumb, I try to play the same type of flam, whether I'm playing solos or I'm playing in the line. But typically, if you want to think, the more loose you are, as far as the timing of the grace note, that's probably better for a solo venue because you can manipulate the spacing and you can hear it. In a line, you probably want to go a little tighter so it's the unison is more together. Because the more loose you get, it gets a little hard to core the space of that grace note, and then the line gets thicker. On that flam note, it's just going to sound like a big, thick note as opposed to something a little more refined where you just get that texture change. So just work on any type of pattern. You can do flam accents, right? And do that same grid pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And repeat that a bunch of times so you get comfortable with it and then start manipulating the space between the grace note and the primary note. So I'll show you 2 more exercises. So this is going to start with quarter notes. It's just a flam. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to do inverted flams. The flams are staying exactly on the beat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, so you haven't changed the sticking of the flam. Now we're going to do flam accents. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. And the last one we're going to do flammed paradiddles. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and. Okay, and then you're going to go back down. So it's a pyramid. You're going to go quarters, eighths, eighth note triplets, and 16th note. So 1, 2, ready, play, flam, 2, 3, 4, flam tap, flam tap, flam tap, flam tap, flam accent, flam accent, flam accent, flam accent, flamadiddo, 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 flam accent, flam accent, flam accent, flam accent, flam tap, flam tap, flam tap, flam tap, flam, 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 flam. Those are your single flam rudiments, generally speaking, that you're going to use in any type of music. The next exercise, you're going to do doubles on the right or the left hand. And you have to do this one on the left hand, starting with the flam, the entire beginning of this exercise. So you're going to start with flam, same thing. Right, left, right, left. Then you're going to do right, right, left, left, right, right, left, left. Swiss triplet, Swiss triplet, Swiss triplet, Swiss triplet. Windmill. Swiss triplet, Swiss triplet, Swiss triplet, Swiss triplet. Flam, tap, flam, tap, flam, tap, flam, tap, flam, 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 flam. And what I mean is you have to start this exercise again on the left is the Swiss triplets do not alternate. So to practice the left, you're going to start on the left. So left, right, right, flam tap, flam tap, flam tap, flam tap, Swiss triplet, Swiss triplet, Swiss triplet, Swiss triplet, windmill. Or you can call them flammed mills. A mill is a reverse paradiddle. The diddle is in the front. Diddle, single, single, diddle, single, single, put it with a flam. So you'll notice in both exercises I said flam tap. The first time I played it, when I did these, I did a right flam, then I did a left tap, then I did a left flam, and I did a right tap. Those are actually inverts, but you are technically doing a flam and a tap. Flam, tap. A lot of times this rudiment starts on the tap, so this would be tap, flam, as opposed to a flam tap. But since we're leaving the flam on the beat, it's just important to know the difference between the sticking. These are all alternating stickings. And then when you're doing the doubles, flam taps, Swiss triplet, Swiss triplet. We're always doing a flam and then followed by the same hand flam double. So, right? So there are flam rudiments that are singles and flam rudiments that are doubles. And this is only talking about one single flam on a note followed by taps afterwards. None of these had double flams or anything like that. So work on this a little bit. I'll play both these exercises one more time. So we're going to start with flams. 2, ready, and play. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Inverts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Flam accent. Flamadiddle. Flam accent. Inverts. And then flams. Now we're going to go into the double rudiments. Ready? Flam tap, flam tap, flam tap, flam tap. Swiss triplets. Flam mills. Swiss triplets. Flam tap. And then flam. And then reverse it to the left hand. So left, 2, 3, 4, flam tap, flam tap. Swiss triplets, flam mills, Swiss triplets, flam taps. Okay, so there's your flam lesson for the day. You're trying to make sure you are in control of the space between this grace note and that primary note. Mess with the width of that, how close this grace note is to that primary note in the right and in the left hand, and be sure you're keeping that grace note low compared to the stroke that is following it. Right? Okay? And happy flamming.